Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board Meeting of March 5th. It is 4:30 p.m. and seeing no public or public comment, we will adjourn to closed session and be back at 5:30. Thank you. Hi, good evening, and welcome to the Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board meeting. Today is March 5th, and the time is 5:32 p.m. And I'd like to open the meeting by asking if there is any, there's no public comment to report on closed session. Sorry about that. Okay, and then I'd like to call the meeting to order by starting with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd please join me. Okay, thank you and welcome. And President Driller is joining us online. There she is, waving, small icon to the right of the screen. Okay, so we need to please take, action to approve tonight's agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Did you vote, President Driller?
Oh,
Nope.
You want to give us a thumbs up?
I misplaced my pen. Here it is. Okay.
Okay.
Thumbs up? Yes? On the, all right, thank you. Okay, so I don't have any notice of anyone here for public comment, but is there someone here for public comment? All right, seeing none, we will move on. And we are going to do the student representative report. So I see a couple of students here. The first one on my list is North Tahoe High School with Val Laguna and Camila Martinez. That's okay, come on up. And then if you remember, just make sure the green light is on your microphone, please.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for having us. We are honored to be here today. My name is Camila Martinez, and I'm the North Tahoe High School student representative. Starting with our winter sport recap, our season wrapped up with some amazing results. Our girls Nordic skiing crushed it and became state champions. Boys Nordic skiing finished second at state. Incredible performance. Our boys and girls snowboard team are currently competing at state, and we're all cheering for them to bring home the win. Girls basketball made it all the way to states. Huge congrats to the team. And boys basketball ended their season strong at regionals. Now that spring's on this way, spring sports are in full swing. Basketball will be playing at Aces Stadium on March 20th against Incline. Let's show them that this is our lake and cheer them on to victory. Currently, we are proud to announce that North Tahoe has 6 out of the 8 scholarship candidates for the Tahoe Truckee Foundation scholarships. Way to go, students. Next week is Hope Week, and the Hope Squad has some awesome events planned to help boost mental health and wellness. The theme for the month is positive self-talk, so let's all work together on lifting ourselves and each other up with kind words. We also have a social emotional learning assembly on March 13th called Feel It All, which is for all grades. It's all about understanding our emotions and how we can use them to grow as people. Airband is March 15, and this year's theme is nostalgia. We can't wait to see the throwback performances. Along with Airband comes our Spirit Week and Winter Rally, which our students are truly looking forward to. Project Grad is still raising money for a safe and sober graduation night for our seniors. They've got some fun events lined up, such as line dancing, restaurant nights, and the Night Monster Hockey Games Part 2 and on March 29th. Plus, don't miss the Senior Fashion Show on April 27th. Be sure to check out the North Tahoe media page for all the details and way to get involved in tickets for the hockey game. The 8th grade orientation was a great success. We welcomed incoming families and gave them a sneak peek at what North Tahoe High is all about. We're excited to have them join us next year. The ELAC meeting covered important discussions on immigration rights. Big thank you to everyone who attended and made this happen. The Tahoe Truckee Foundation Scholarship is now open, and our staff have been undeniably available to help students who are applying. The Steps to College family trip was a great opportunity for families to learn more about college process, and we are glad that so many people attended. Our jazz band did an amazing job at jazz in school at UNR. They sounded incredible, and we couldn't be more proud. This week at the YAM of North California Art Contest, our students received a well-deserved award for their amazing artwork. So much talent in our school. Finally, the SAT is this month, and for the first time ever, it will be taking place on campus next week. We are wishing all our peers the best of luck as they take on this milestone. As always, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to emphasize and recognize our students and staff accolades with you all, to celebrate the school spirit that makes North Tahoe High School such a special place. Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have Sierra High School. Is Quinn Holen here? Okay, come on up.
Good evening, Superintendent Kramer, members of the board, and members of the cabinet. My name is Quinn Holen, and I'm an 11th grade student with Coldstream Alternative. Sierra High School will be holding individual credit updates with all seniors next week. This is a time for staff to meet one-on-one with students and parents to review their progress towards graduation. Topics that are covered include current grades, attendance, assignments, and credit needed for graduation. Sierra High School participates in a study trip to Donner Summit. This trip was organized by our counselor in collaboration with the Gateway Mountain Center at their lodge near Soda Springs. Students participated in team building activities, winter survival, and learned how to be stewards of our local forests and community. Coldstream Alternative student athletes are doing amazing work on and off the hill. Coldstream provides an opportunity for student athletes to train and compete while working on their studies independently. We have amazing students competing in alpine skiing, snowboarding, and Nordic skiing. The Truckee River program participated in a study trip to North Star. Gateway Mountain Center provided this opportunity for the staff and students. Students learned how to snowboard during this trip. Some students had never been on a snowboard or even rode a chairlift while living in Truckee-Tahoe Basin. The students had a blast. Coldstream started their planning for the 25-26 school year by taking requests for classes from both Truckee High and North Tahoe. So far, we have received 50 single subject requests for the 25-26 school year. Sierra High School and Devin Bradley from Nevada County Teen Clinic presented at a whole school circle on making healthy lifestyle choices, including healthy relationships and healthy hygiene. Our college and career technician, Mrs. Carlin, has been very busy supporting Sierra High School Truckee River program and Coldstream Alternative seniors with their FAFSA and scholarship applications. We had 4 alternative education student representatives attend the community collaborative of Truckee-Tahoe Youth Forum. This was an opportunity for our students to share their perspectives, ideas, and priorities for future community initiatives. That's it for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And our last school presenting is Truckee High School. And I have a few names. I have Naomi Adams, Kieran Gohol, Sophia Jacobs, and Greta Stein. So introduce yourselves, please.
Hi, board. Thank you so much for meeting with us today. My name is Naomi Adams. I am the ASB president at Truckee High and the president of the TNT Lacrosse Club at Truckee High.
I'm Kieran Gohel. I play for the high school football team. I'm on the golf team, of course, and I'm senator of social activities as well.
Oh yeah. Okay. Thank you. So some overview of events. On March 6th, we are hosting a Parents' Night Out. So this is a babysitting opportunity for students to get volunteer hours, as well as let parents have a night out and kids have fun with high schoolers. On March 10th is the start of Hope Week. So our Hope Squad is working hard to put that together. On March 11th, we have a boosters meeting that we are hosting in the library at 6 p.m. On March 20th, we have our annual Broman game. And then March 21st, we're hosting our spring formal. And this year, we're trying to get more inclusion with it. So it's going to be kind of like a mini prom for the younger classmen. On April 8th, we are having the first SAT at Truckee High School. And then on April 14th, we have spring break.
So, over the winter, we've had a couple state winners, and people have made it to state. So, to start off, girls alpine skiing, state winners. Snowboarding team made it to state. Not sure what the results were today, but it happened today. Wrestling, 3 students made individual state winners. And the academic team is 6 straight year in a row state winners. Wow. That's the snowboard team.
Oh, we have some pictures here. There's our academic team. So now we are starting our spring sports. So track just had their first meet yesterday, and baseball is just getting started with their season, as well as softball.
So here are a couple of our enrichment programs. To start off, we have La Raza. They went to UNR for a tour of the school. And the EMR class has dual credit now with Sierra College, which is a big program in our school. And leadership is started back to school night with all the parents. And
So leadership worked on this back to school night, really supporting parents and finding the classes that their students are in, because sometimes it can get hard. So they created a map, and then there were students selling sweatshirts to fundraise for prom tickets to lower them for students. It was very successful.
So we had ninth grade link crew fair, and Naomi can talk a little bit more about this. I don't have the hint.
So Link Crew is a team at our school that supports incoming freshmen throughout their whole freshman year. So they put together a fair to just get students involved and knowledgeable about all the opportunities that our school has to offer for them. So yeah.
So yesterday was it today? Yeah. Today we had the formal wear thrift where right after school we donated clothing, mainly a fundraiser for the program, and just a ton of other accessories, toiletries, makeup, and access to formal wear for all students.
So I mentioned this a little before, but leadership this year is really working on helping students get volunteer hours, and we're putting on, this is our second time putting it on, it's Parents Night Out. It is on March 6th from 5 to 8. It's for kids that are 4 years or older, and it's a discounted babysitting, so it's $30 for all 3 hours. Last time, students really liked it, and hopefully we get a lot more involvement this time. So, yeah.
So for our spring Spirit Week in March, we decided to go with Candyland theme. Leadership started that, something new, and we have a rally on the 19th. Broman, which is our men's volleyball, where the girls volleyball team coaches some of the junior boys and senior boys for a little fun game. We have our spring formal, as we talked about earlier. This year we're going to have obstacle course, a little bounce castle with it'll be fun, and some cotton candy, games, and dancing, of course. And last one, the overall goal is to bring excitement and whimsy during a hard time of the year, as it's a hard time of the year during SATs and AP tests around.
So on May 31st, we have prom at Alpine Lodge. So we've switched it from High Camp to Alpine Lodge this year to make it more affordable for students in our school. We are working on lowering the ticket prices. So this year we are having an appetizer bar and a dessert bar instead of serving full dinner, because a lot of students didn't enjoy that. So hopefully this will lower the ticket prices, and it'll still be a lot of fun. If anyone is looking to represent a student and fund their ticket, we are taking donations through our ASB website, as well as selling our sweatshirts on our ASB website.
So this year, we're promoting safe driving for prom. So Ms. Delgado is working with the Athletes Committed to get sort of shuttle business or shuttle thing going on for students who have trouble kind of driving through that area, new drivers and such, for prom. And students must attend to get their prom ticket validated and the availability to park on campus next year as well.
Yeah, so just a little more about this. Our school, every 4 years, typically hosts a program called Every 15 Minutes. But this year, we're kind of going away from that and working with the CHP and Truckee Fire and a few other organizations with Athletes Committed to host a like an assembly 2 days before prom to really inform students of how important it is to drive safely during that time. And then with the shuttle, like Karen was talking about, we're trying to get less drivers on the road during prom because it is a pretty long drive and can get busy. So we're trying to get a shuttle service to work with us. So we're also fundraising for that. And I think that is it. So thank you so much for meeting with us tonight.
Thank you so much for your time.
So lots of good things at all 3+ high schools. So thank you for coming and taking your evening to come present. All right. Mr. Newberger, you are contagious. I'm coughing just by hearing you cough. No, I know you're not that kind of contagious. Okay, so next item on the agenda, please.
It is our pleasure to invite up Principal John Newberger for the Truckee High School School Showcase.
Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Kramer, Cabinet. So I'm pretty excited to stand up here and talk about math data. I brought two friends along, Miss Burrell, teacher, and Scott Delgado, our A through G career counselor, to help me with that. But before we do that, just wanted to celebrate our seniors, oh yeah, good, that worked. Celebrating the class of 2025. This picture was rescheduled multiple times due to weather. We finally just took it in the gym. So, but there they are. Celebrating our staff here in our cool Wolverine vests that we invested in this year. So I know the students came up just a moment ago and talked about our winter celebrations from sports, but I didn't get a chance to tell everyone about the fall. So this year we had academic state champions in tennis, football, and girls soccer. So that's a pretty high bar. NIAA team champions in girls tennis, girls cross country, and boys cross country. And then runners up, girls soccer, football, and girls golf. So we had a successful fall season as well. So a couple other celebrations. This is academic discourse at work in one of our ELD classrooms. This is a word sort where these little strips of words are mixed up in a Ziploc bag, and the students have to take them out, kind of lay them out, and then find their partner word. So it might be planet, and another word is solar system, and then there'll be multiple planets in that. So this was a fun word sort that I got to go to. Another celebration of academic discourse. This is in a 9th grade human geography class where they were discussing what is resilience and growth mindset. And students mostly did the turn and talk, but it was a great opportunity for students to discuss this. And then celebration of our staff members back in February. During our professional development, we did a disability awareness PD, professional development, and this picture is of some of our teachers, some wearing headphones, and some wearing goggles. And basically, the task was to try to take notes. The goggles are chemistry goggles, but they have a film in the inside of them with little slits cut out. So, you might have to really peek around to see the board. And then inside the headphones, that's to demonstrate what, a hearing disability would be like, and then try to take notes from the teacher. We had multiple classrooms set up, and all the teachers from the special ed department got to present to our staff. And it was very successful and really good opportunity to build empathy and awareness. So, let's talk about math and equity. Last year and the year before, when I stood in front of you, I did mention that word equity, and we're constantly striving at Truckee High School to look for ways to level the playing field, and that is really what equity is about. So what we're going to discuss today, why don't you guys come up, is what we're doing at Truckee High School and in relation to Carnegie Math, since we just adopted that curriculum and we've been using it now. So first up is Mr. Delgado to talk about some of the data.
Scott Delgado, College and Career Readiness Counselor. So on this first slide, this is our fall term for our Introduction to Integrated Math class that we introduced this year. So 65 students took Introduction to Integrated Math. Guess you guys can hear me better? Okay. Took the Intro to Integrated Math this fall, with roughly 75% of our student population in the class being Hispanic students and roughly 25% non-Hispanic students. In term one, we can see that 72.31% of the students showed proficiency in term one, and then 55.38 in term two at the end of term two. Overall, in the Intro to Integrated Math, we are seeing our Hispanic population still struggle to show proficiency in math. 85.71% of our students who received a D or an F in term two were Hispanic students, which is roughly 12% above the population of the class. All right. Next is Integrated Math 1. We had 103 students enrolled in the course this past fall. The student population was made up of roughly 64% of non-Hispanic students and roughly 36% of Hispanic students. Overall, we saw 82% of our students showing proficiency in material in term one and roughly 71% in term two. We still see our Hispanic population struggling to show proficiency. 80% of the students who received a D or an F in term two were Hispanic. That's 42% above the Hispanic population of the class. For our Integrated Math 2, we had 116 students enrolled in this past fall. Roughly 29% of the students population was our Hispanic students, with 71% of them non-Hispanics. In term one, we saw an 87% of students showing proficiency in term one, and in term two, we saw a proficiency of 75%. Again, we continue to see our Hispanic population struggling to show proficiency at 75.14% of students who received D or F in term two were Hispanic students. This is 29.31% above the population of the class. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to get lost if you keep moving forward. I'm not understanding that last term that you said in the last three examples, like the 42% above Hispanic population in the class. What am I missing?
So, for example, I don't have the data right in front of me, but it's like if there is in Integrated Math 2, it's roughly about 26% of the students in the class, all of Integrated Math 2, was Hispanic students. They represented 57% of the D and F students that were showing below proficiency or not meeting proficiency. As, hold on, lost the train of thought here. Yeah. As a whole, yes. So it should be essentially,
The ratio of Hispanic students is like, say, a third of the class, but the ratio of failing students is way higher than failing.
So they're disproportionately representing a larger number of
DNFs.
DNFs.
so the achievement gap between those Hispanic and non-Hispanic students are not representing what they are representing in the whole as a class.
I get it
Okay, sorry.
No. Thank you for answering, because if you kept going, I would have gone home and emailed you tomorrow, so, or you. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry to
If
interrupt.
you
Go
have any
ahead.
questions, feel free to email me too. For our integrated math 3 in the fall, 85 students were enrolled in integrated math 3. 25% of this population was Hispanic and 75% non-Hispanics overall. Guess that'd help. Overall, 87% showed proficiency in term 1 and 84% showed proficiency in term 2. As we continue into math 3, we still see our Hispanic population struggling to show proficiency. 47.15% of students received a D or an F in that term 2. So, in conclusion to the data, we have seen success in our math curriculum with overall class performance increasing proficiency, but we are still working to do to close that achievement gap among our Hispanic students.
Can you repeat that last part?
Yeah, sorry. In conclusion to this data, we have seen success with our new math curriculum with overall class performance increasing proficiency, but we still have to work to do with closing our academic achievement gap among our Hispanic students. Yeah.
Can you also say, because you were saying the data and it's not there, so I'm trying
Yeah.
to remember it, that with each of these math classes that you went through are a higher level. Integrated math 3.
Yes.
Integrated math 3 being the highest of the ones you showed us. So it seems, if I heard it right, that the percentage of Hispanic students that are failing is less as we go into higher classes. So in the lower classes, there's a higher percentage. In the higher classes, there's a lower percentage.
Yes, the Hispanic population in our lower divisions, such as Intro to Integrated Math and Math 1, are a higher percentage of the population, as we represent higher of the DNF category.
But it's still a lower percentage of just the Hispanic students. Because I think in the lower class, it was 80, I think you said 80% of Hispanic students were receiving a D or
Yeah.
F. And in this class, I think you said it was around 40-something or other.
Yes, so it
Okay.
is lowering in that sense, but
As
it
they go
is,
up.
as they go up, but it's still not representing their population size.
No, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then in collaboration with our math department and counseling team, we have also been hearing that a lot of students and families are concerned about trying to get as much math done as possible, especially at a lower grade level. A lot of our students are trying to push to being in AP pre-calculus by their spring of their sophomore year. We're seeing, yeah. I don't know. So that's due to our block system, our 4x4 block system. You are able to do those things and get a lot of classes done. It is a great opportunity, but is a double-edged sword in the sense. With collaboration with the math department, we created this math pathway to show that even if you take a math class your senior year and getting your footing and understanding the big jump from middle school to high school, especially a high school like Truckee High School that has a block system that's geared towards a college system essentially. you could still accelerate in, like, for example, the column that states standard college preparation. If you're starting at integrated math 1, by your senior year, you could have the potential to be at AP pre-calculus, which most students in their high school that has a traditional year-long are around, averaging, as well as possibly an AP calculus AB. So there's students still can thrive, as well as you can see our options for acceleration, making it to our top maths by our senior years. Because what we're also seeing is colleges and like to see students taking math their senior year. We're facing students in their junior year, done all of them. So what are they going to do in their senior year? So there's also that dilemma. Is there anything you want to talk about on this?
Oh, I could go on. But that's not what this is about.
Yeah. So,
I feel like I worked really hard to help that idea go.
Ideally, with this pathway, it's to help incoming parents and current parents look and say, this is how we can map out the math trajectory for our students. And really just to help give information. There are changes for next year with math where if you want to be 4-year A through G eligible, you have to go through Math 3. So that's already going to impact some of our math programming. So we'll probably have more students take Math 3, which means we'll probably have to drop a stats class or another math elective in order to fulfill that. But so ideally, this just helps parents and students understand, oh, this is when I could take this class. Traditionally at Truckee High School, you could probably not take math your whole freshman year and still get it done. But this kind of shows you different ways, and that's really just the idea to be clear.
and then a comment to just throw in there. It's just, in math specifically, we really encourage our students to slow down, to go fast. It's really easy to stumble and fall when you take so much classes. Understand the system that you're now put into a new high school. You're a 9th grader, everything's new. Take it easy, slow it down, and you'll accelerate a lot faster throughout your high school career.
Yeah, and parents were thinking that the kids are going to forget everything if they take a break, and they don't.
So actually, can I ask a little bit about that? What do you attribute this like mad rush to?
Can I?
Yeah.
I mean, just from talking to parents, what I know is they think that their kids' brains are like our brains, that if I take math in the fall 1 year and then wait a whole nother year before I take math 2, they're going to forget everything. And I teach the higher levels. I tend to teach AP Calc, AP Pre-Calc, and Math 3, and once in a while a Math 1. And I always tell the students, you know, in high school, we know some of you haven't had math in a year, and we're going to remind you of these things. But if you finish all the way to, I had 5 or 6 sophomores in AP Calc last year, and I was thinking, what are you going to do for the next 2 years? And then you're going to go to college, and you've had no math for 2 years, and those professors are not going to review. So I reached out to these guys, and that kind of was that. It's like, you can do this. You don't have to race through. And the parents think the kids are going to forget. And we do help them their brains are amazing.
So it's parental anxiety.
I think so. I think it's mostly parental anxiety, and then a big rush to, I need all these AP classes before I, register for college. And
I mean,
I'm just going to leave it.
A few of our students do come in advanced, right, and starting in Math 2.
Right.
The other thing that we're going to be doing for next year is looking to create better criteria for who should be, able to take an advanced level math either as a freshman or first semester sophomore. And that criteria really will rather than a prerequisite criteria, kind of spells it out a little bit more equitably. We don't want to slow students down if they're ready, but there's some social and academic maturity that is necessary to take the advanced level maths, especially AP. And that's, something that we worry about. We talk about mental health a lot, and we want to keep our students, with a good forward progression. So. Let's see. So addressing some of the needs that we talked about during the early slides with the data, we have a bilingual introduction to integrated and Math 1 teacher, Miss Ramirez, that started with us this year. She had been a bilingual aide with us for 15, 20 years and stepped into the classroom and is doing tremendous things and tremendous work with our students. That's a big help. I mentioned some changes. We are going to be offering some new math classes, personal finance via kind of a state, not bond measure, mandate. Yeah, that's for 2032, I think, but we're going to start it next year. And then business math for seniors that need another math, but maybe aren't ready for an upper level math. And then special education department, in conjunction with our math department, is going to be holding two math classes, integrated math 1 in the fall semester and integrated math 2, taught by a special education teacher, doing the Carnegie curriculum for special education students specifically. So that's pretty exciting. And then, of course, I did mention those changes to the A through G requirements, which will impact our scheduling. And finally, some of the other ways we're addressing the needs, which is what we're going to talk about now, is using Mathia, Carnegie Math, and AI support to help students. So there, for you all to look at the data at another time, you can click on where it says data and pull up these charts, because some of them aren't the easiest to see. But Jody's going to be talking about these. There you go.
I don't know how to use this fancy thing.
Oh, just to the right.
Thanks. I watch the kids up here. I'm like, oh yeah. This is something that is online exams, and as the students are taking the exams, I get to look at where they're not doing well. So the red means students got it wrong. The green means they got it right. Some of the things I can do while the students are taking the exams, I can look at, I can click on an individual question. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. This is like individual students' reports, so I can see exactly, this person missed that many questions. The red is wrong, the green is right, yellow is partial credit. Even though it is online and multiple choice and AI grades all this for us, it'll do partial credit. This is looking at an individual student. So they only missed question 1. I could click on problem, and it tells me how long they spent on every single problem, how many times they maybe changed their answer before they submitted. I can click on problem 1 and say, oh, this is the one that they got wrong. And they spent 54.9 seconds on that problem and still got it wrong. And, so you can look at that. This is looking at the whole class. You can see what answer choice they're selecting, whether it's right or wrong. And again, red is wrong. Yellow. This was my final exam for Math 3. The Math 3 data that you just saw of his is all my kids. I'll talk about. It was enlightening. I wish I could have known this. I do want to say one of the A students is one of our EL kids who could barely speak any English, and she got the highest grade in the whole class on almost every exam she took. The curriculum is all available in Spanish with the click of a button. I could barely communicate with her outside of the language of math, and she scored higher than almost anyone in my class. So I think there's a variety of reasons why there's an achievement gap, not just that they're Hispanic. It also depends on the skills that they come in with and their drive. And so, I don't know, there's all kinds of things. I thought I skipped this. This is one of the things that I thought was really cool. I was talking to Serge about how we could make this a secure browser so that they can't leave the website and look for the answers online while they're testing. I can lock the browser so they can't navigate out. And this is just showing what I can do. I can say they only get 1 attempt. I can also put on the state calculators on the test. Even though we give them calculators, I can't believe how many kids, I forgot to charge it last night. I'm like, so I put it on there, and it's the one that the state is using. So I thought, oh, that's helpful, And then the very bottom button, it says warn after and block test after 1 alert. That means if they try to navigate out of the test and go online and search answers, they get kicked out. And they can't get back in until I let them back in, and I have a little chat. You can't go outside, blah, blah, blah. This is another thing that I think is pretty neat. I can look at individual questions and see that 65, this is not my class, so 65% of kids missed question 1 on this particular question. And then I get to see the question, and then, I can use that as, hey, we need to review this or what have you. This I thought was powerful, especially with what North Tahoe is doing. This is, all of us are doing, but it tells me what the standard is for each. And this, again, this is not for my class. I'm not teaching Carnegie right now, so I don't have access to this, so I'm asking teachers, will you snip this for me? So this is showing question 1 and 8. Are these two standard? Is this standard? These questions are all this standard. And then the one that's highlighted on the right says what the math standard is. I thought that was really powerful. And there's so many more things that this can do that when I meet with Hannah from Carnegie, I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then this, again, I had a teacher. I don't have access to this anymore because I'm not teaching it right now. But when the kids are doing Mathia online, this is really amazing. So this was during our staff meeting. So all the kids are offline because they're not in class. But if any kid that's struggling on the homework, I can look on it. It's called Live Lab, and see the little, like heart thing, the red. Students' names will show up, and that little red line will be there, and it says, this student needs your help. And so then I go and I sit with that student and I say, how can I help you? It looks like, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes they're like, I don't understand, blah, 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 and I help them. Or sometimes they're just like, I know, I just need a break. And then when I go back to my computer, I can click on their name and put how I helped them. Like they needed help in math or they needed motivation. And so I thought I really wanted you to see that. I thought that was a really powerful thing while we're working. The other thing, I don't know if you know, is the Mathia is kind of run by AI. So if the 3 of us are all working on the same exact problem, they're all different. It's the same problem, but all our numbers are different. So I can just go, hey, Scott, what'd you put on number 1? Because you got it right. He has to explain how he did it to me so that I can understand and input my own answers. And then the other thing is, let's say I keep getting them wrong, but these guys keep getting them right. I'm going to get more questions of that style until I master it. And these guys are going to advance forward, right? And so it's like every teacher's dream, right? Oh, I wish I could figure out how to do that, but it does it for us. And so the other thing, yeah, we're done with that part. That's what you're going to share. But the other thing I just want to say is, we all have our own little teaching style personalities. And what I'm really hearing from Carnegie is that we're not supposed to have Mathia be homework. And I explored that. I did not assign any Mathia at home. They say Mathia is not homework. It's not independent work. It's like together work. And I'm amazed at how much the kids are helping each other. And what I've seen, which I would love to compare what happened with CPM versus this, is the difference in who's doing homework. It used to be the Hispanic students rarely had homework to turn in, and now that's not happening because they're getting that support in class. And so I'm seeing a lot better results there. And I just think that's really cool. And so you might think, well, what do you do if there's no homework? Well, our little workbooks have a assignment that you could do every day at home if you wanted to do that. I had my students review their notes and kind of summarize them in their own way. So there's a lot of creative ways that you can use this curriculum, and I think we are all having some growing pains with it. Change is hard, and there's some things in it that I'm looking at going, why are we doing this? I don't get the order of, and then later it spills out and I go, oh wow, and this is really helping in calculus. But change is hard on teachers, and I think I was all excited to have my curriculum memorized, and then here we are.
Sorry.
But in general, I think there's a lot of really positive things. Some of the AI too with this, they're prompted to watch a video. There's video support on a problem that they can do. There's also kind of like give me an example, and you can look at an example problem. And that's honestly the same with pre-calc and AP Calc curriculum. That's really robust. But I think we're here to talk about that. I'm not sure. But do you guys have any questions? Because, I mean, I see it every day, and I'm trying to highlight some of the things that are really good, but I'm not sure what you guys know.
President Driller, are you still online?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm sure that
Or not?
I'm sure that the presentation is not over, but do you have any questions for this particular segment?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, phew. Okay, so whatever happened before, I didn't know. Wow, thank you, thank you. I wanted to say too, I love the fact that our staff is so involved and so passionate about presenting, things that they may not like. Jody's like, we don't like some of these things, but that you guys are taking the chance to just sort of share with all of us, public and staff, sort of what's out there, and then sharing some of the things that are highlights and what has worked. I really am excited that you are here. I mean, that's an awesome thing. The only thing thank you for doing that. And I think we love having students talk, but we also can't tell you how much we love having the professionals in the field speak as well. So thank you for taking the time to do this. And your passion shows on through. Only quick question I had is that just with the math and the children that are coming in hot and coming in heavy to get through math, you did mention business math. You did mention some of the other maths that they could potentially take at the end. What are we throwing some of these kids towards Sierra College to take some of the other math classes in Sierra College as an option for those ones that are going strong in the beginning of the freshman, sophomore years?
Yes. Yes. There's options for students to take Sierra College calculus and their special math courses that are way above my pay grade of knowledge. But yes, we do offer also electives. I would say those electives such as business math would be more of an elective and not a challenge and rigor of a senior year. So that's where we're trying to just inform our students or inform our parents that take it easy, slow it down, so that not only do you not burn out about math, but also that you have that rigor in your senior year so that you can still show that you're accelerating and pushing yourself through your senior year compared to taking a class such as personal finance or business that may be more of a elective and not as rigorous as AP Calc BC.
What's the highest for Sierra?
Okay, and before Mr. Newberger continues, anybody at this point, since we kind of took a question break?
Well, I think I don't necessarily have questions. I just have some observations and comments. I think, first of all, this is incredible. I mean, the Carnegie AI integration with like having them be able to pivot over into Spanish if they need it explained to them in Spanish, which, learning math in English is hard enough. Learning math in English as a second language is a completely different animal. So really appreciate the fact that you guys are tuning into that and how important that is, and that you have hopefully John's okay out there. And that you have a bilingual, now it looks like you have a bilingual math teacher, which is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'd love to see us sort of like continue to grow that model of having advanced math be also taught in the students' primary language, and just potentially just throw some really lofty goals out there and see how that can, provide some results. And it's also, I will just share a personal story. I don't know if you all know this, but like, I suffer from serious PTSD from my high school math experience. I just washed out. Yeah. Thank God neither of my kids had that problem, thanks to y'all, which I really appreciate.
I had them.
Zarek just graduated with applied math from UCSB, so,
I had Tanya, too.
yeah. So I washed out completely. Like, I gave up on my high school career because I started failing math. And I couldn't get traction, and nobody was helping. There was no outreach. Back in those days, it was just like, sorry, ma'am, you know? So I really, this is a triggering topic for me, and for very good reason, even though I've been to 20 years of therapy for it. Plus. But I'm really excited to see that you're really kind of putting your arms around this whole process, and you're micro analyzing the granularity of the data. It's just incredible. You can see which kids are missing the questions based on what concept that they're not understanding, and how to repair that so that they can keep going and they don't get stuck. Yeah, so language, trauma, process, yeah, everything's good.
Math in general.
Math in general, and it's all just really exciting.
Well, it sounds like John's could use some help on the next slide. I can talk to
Go
it
ahead,
if you
yes,
go
let's-
to it.
Keep moving forward.
This slide was from a teacher who was, so the beginning of every single Mathia homework has a workspace that's a sample workspace, and where you're learning some new concepts, and then you're learning how to do the data entry, because sometimes you're not sure, like, what are they asking? And it's supposed to be teacher-led. And so this is another growing pain that we're trying to figure out. So we put this up there, and we do the problem with the students, and then they launch onto their own. And I forget what that workspace is called. Do you remember?
It's Concept Builder.
Concept Builders is another cool thing that they have. So Mathia has two parts to it. There's Concept Builders, and then there's actual kind of the more rigorous homework. Concept Builders is an exploratory way to navigate online and learn about some of the concepts that either it grows larger than what's in the workbook, or it's totally different topics that are not in the workbook, so that students can learn in a different way. And our students are so comfortable with this. You know, they are just really comfortable online. And so that's great. And I've had, the first year I taught the Math 1 curriculum, I had one girl she's our actress. She misses a lot of school. And she came back and she goes, I love Mathia. I learned so much from, and it occurred to me at that time, I didn't know what a concept builder is. I think she's really learning from the concept builders, and then she can move forward and do the more rigorous homework. So that was like really exciting to me here. I was like, oh, hooray, you know. So there's two different types, and the concept builders are meant to be, they're very short, and everyone has the same questions. And so when I assign the concept builders, I do a little mini intro lesson, and I outline, like, these are the key points you're supposed to get from the concept builder. Now work with your table partners. So now Scott and I are going to work together and make sure that we get the right answers and figure out, you know, what we're doing. And then I usually do some closure around that and then launch them onto the homework. So. Well, I don't know. Homework is not homework anymore. It's whatever it is. The Mathia, I forget. There's so many names. There's not chapters. There are modules and lessons and topics, and I don't know. But, yeah. So that was that. I helped you out because
Thank you. Having a coughing episode, sorry. So ideally, kind of all the things that we just talked about will help with honors principle of engineering, which is an applied math, AP pre-calc, AP calculus. I think it's the right trajectory. We're doing the right work. Yeah, that's exactly what Jody teaches right now. But this is Jody's classroom. I got to go in and observe, and this is actually a study session in which they got to choose different groups. Jody is at the very front of that classroom meeting with a student for office hours, and it was to mimic kind of what they might experience in college. Students are partnered together in different groups. They're reviewing old tests, coaching one another, teaching one another. So there's a lot of academic discourse inherent inherently happening in this class.
SAP Pre-Calc, and it's their first AP math class, and they're all scared. So I told them that when you go to college, if you're in an academic club, you might have access to college professors' exams. And I go, so this is your academic club over here if you're in honors college. And I gave them a wicked hard problem, and, you know, 6 kids went over there, and none of them could solve it. And they were like, oh, I'm going to figure this out. And they were so excited because they didn't really need to review. And then the rest were like, I'm using whiteboards. And I said, that's like being in the dorm and you get to rent a little room, or, you know, all the new colleges have, you know.
Labs.
Yeah, for study. Like where my daughter went to college, the whiteboard, when they write on the whiteboard, you push a button and it downloads onto their computer. I'm like, nice. Anyway, that's what that was mimicking.
Dream
this-
list. Where's Mr. Hilton? Dream list. Wish
And then
list.
this is Honors Principles of Engineering, and this is, well, this is, what I really like this picture. This is all your classes. Well, but it's essentially individual robots that move to trigger the next robot in the line in a succession, and then the final robot rings a bell. And so this is representative of individual groups working together, and then the whole class having to work together to accomplish a goal. And it was pretty cool. The first time they tried it under, supervision, we were all watching, and it rang the bell. So it was pretty cool. And that's it. So we kind of already did the questions. We took up a lot of time.
It's okay.
But thank you guys for having us.
Yeah. Any last minute comments, questions?
I think this is super helpful, and I totally understand the math being challenging for a lot of our students, but then we have the extremes of the students who are just so ambitious that they want to get through everything as fast as they can. And I really feel like that sort of step in 8th grade when they talk to the students about like, hey, you're going to transition into high school, here's the options, like maybe even the back to school nights with the parents, because the parents may not even understand what their kids' goals are. They may have their goals as a parent, but I think sometimes that's disconnected from what the students' goals are themselves. And so I know having counselors in high school is beneficial because then they can map out their math schedule for the full 4 years. But I really feel like in that middle school kind of phase to getting the parents to kind of understand, like, you might have different ideals than your student, and having that chart, that chart is amazing. Like, the parents should definitely have access to that, whether it's freshman orientation, because I do remember that from freshman orientation of, don't push the math so hard. But I do think just making sure that students have their own voice in it too, and kind of understanding like the paths and options that they have will help them feel more successful too, especially as they're mapping out their schedules. So maybe just, even that 8th grade access I feel like would be good. But it's interesting to see, how students can approach it, and the options that we have for math in high school is amazing, honestly. That even, some of these other options where if it's business math, maybe it's an elective, but, that might be critical for a student who, just decides like, yeah, and that might be something I want to do once I leave high school. Like that's never been really an option. So I'm excited about those as possible paths too, just for the variety of students that we have, so they can kind of pick and choose. So good job.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I as you mentioned, change is hard, and but I think that the assessment data that you were the assessment data that you were showing us, Jody, really will help teachers to diagnose and prescribe moving forward with their classes. And rather than using a shotgun method of, 80% of my kids didn't understand this question, so I'll reteach it. You can go to the specific students and work with them while they're in their study group. Working on something else. So it seems to me that it's going to assist a teacher's teaching ability and make their job, I think, a little bit easier.
It does.
Or maybe not easier, but more efficient.
Way more efficient. That's a perfect way to put it, because in my dreams, I'm always creating a test. You've graded 1 million exams. It's like, oh, I think a lot of kids miss number 3. It seems like I'm always marking that one wrong, but I don't have time. I if that's all I ever did my whole life, but I have a life. So I just wish that, but I'm not a computer. So having the computer analyze that for us, and I push a button, I see the problem. It's like, wow. And the AP curriculum is equally powerful, if not more. Because on the student end, our AP curriculum, there's a button that says My Insights, Ace My Exam, and you click on it, and it tells the students which areas that they're weak in, which areas they're strong in, so, and then gives them sample problems to study, that's really, really amazing. And WebAssign is the curriculum we use for the AP, or the online, I don't know what it's called. It's WebAssign, wherever that is, it's connected to our book. And that's what they're using at the universities. So it's really helpful that they're getting to see this, our students, before they go on to the university and have some experience with some of the hiccups and frustrations of, oh, you went to 4 decimals and it asked you to go to 3, so you got it wrong, and really they did all the right work, and I always tell them, you're saving money because here it's free, and next year you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
True.
I talk about economics of high school a lot. So I don't know. I think it's just been really, really fun to be able to, like you said, teach more efficiently and say, oh, this is actually what you need. Or even to know, glancing at my computer and not, if you ever came to my room, I'm hardly ever looking at my computer, but I can glance at it while they're working and go, oh, I see you need help on number 3. You're stuck, and just... So talk about efficient, because every kid understands everything when the teacher goes, can I help you? No, I get it. Well, actually, I know you don't, so I can help, It's really, really been great. I know not everyone's embracing it as much as I am. I'm very passionate about look at all the things we could do. But,
Well, hopefully your passion is contagious and
well, thank you.
spreads.
Thanks.
Because it seems like it,
how I
I know Jody Burrell's excited about it. It's got to be something good.
Yeah. I think one of the things is we have the opportunity to look at a lot of data. And so we need teachers to be able to have the time to dedicate to doing that in order to be more efficient. And the more teachers that, embrace it, the better it's going to be for our students.
Okay, anyone else? I'm looking at the screen. President Driller, are we good? Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I know it's a long work day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. Thank you to Truckee High School and the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Clerk Hennessy. I want to start by providing a summary of our first year of implementing our revised school calendar, which eliminated Ski Skate Week. I kind of gave an update on February 19th on our first day of that adventure. And so we were monitoring 3 data points for those 3 school days. We were looking at attendance, our bus routes, and any unexpected impacts to bus route timing and tardies as a result, and then the number of independent studies. So I'm going to start with attendance. So what I did is just grabbed our attendance data in Aries, and this does include our charter school cells, from Wednesday, February 5th, all the way through Tuesday, yesterday. And I put in the box the 3 days that were in school this year that used to be Ski Skate Week.
Oh, okay.
And when you look at the individual school sites, their positive attendance rates were very similar to other days. So I labeled that Friday, February 21st. So if you look at the big rectangle, the right-hand side there where it says 313, that was the number of absences across our district, including our charter. And you can see that that was 2 people less than Monday, February 10th, which was just a standard Monday in our district, nothing unusual. You'll notice the Friday before Monday, February 10th, where it says 315, there's that 472 outlier. And I looked, I'm like, there was something about that day. And I looked, I'm like, oh, it was when we had the 2-hour delayed start because of the conditions. So you can see that the 2-hour delayed start actually causes more students to miss school than having school those 3 days.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it really surprised me. So overall, we were pleasantly surprised at how many students and that the families prioritized having their kids in school. So we really appreciate that. So no red
I will
flags.
say, I remember that February 7th, and that was an astronomically wonderful powder day,
So you're not surprised.
Friday and Saturday.
Yeah. Yes, no surprises there. And then in regards to the bus routes, when we made the school calendar change through the committee work, it was that was a couple years ago, a very thorough process. One concern we all had was with the ski traffic, and we did have that snowstorm. You'll notice Thursday, February 13th, and Friday, February 14th, it says 0, because those were our 2 snow days. So we did have a storm and have snow. There was a concern that the amount of ski traffic in the area, because many other school districts have that full week off, would cause our buses and parents dropping off kids to be late. And so we checked in every day, and our buses were able to be on time, which is amazing. And then the third concern was independent studies, that a lot of families would choose to take that whole week off, and they certainly can do that and request independent study. That becomes a workload issue for our teachers, as we know. So I checked in with 2 schools that historically have had a lot of independent studies. And so Glenshire Elementary is the champion for a number of independent studies. And for those 3 days, they only had 23 total, which is on average 1 per class. That's no more or less than any other time of year. So again, really appreciating our community prioritizing being here in town and being in person. And then I checked with Tahoe Lake as well. They sometimes tend to have more independent studies, and they only had 7. So that was less than 1 per class. So really, overall, there was no unintended consequences that have surfaced so far about this revision to the school calendar and having school those 3 days. So we'll keep you posted, but right now, things looked good, trying that out. And so for district strategic plan updates, in academic achievement, I just want to celebrate what we just saw. One of our actions this year is implementing the new math curriculum, and we heard from Mrs. Burrell about that change is hard, but the math teachers are working hard with our trainers from the publisher Carnegie and with our Ed Services Department to really understand the curriculum, utilize all the tools, and maximize it for student learning. So just really appreciate all of our math teachers, kindergarten through 12th grade, learning the new curriculum and putting things in place so that our kids succeed. It's really exciting. And then yesterday, Trustee Levac and I were able to attend the youth forum. So we're very fortunate that our community collaborative of Tahoe Truckee works together, and you can see there all of the partners. Our wellness team, Dr. Cohen and Kim Bradley and their team assist Gateway Mountain Center, Adventure Risk Challenge, so on. You can see how many people worked together to put this youth forum on. And it was incredible. We had students there, as you heard from Quinn, from Sierra High School, students from Truckee High School and North Tahoe High School. And what was neat this year, the Community Collaborative did a pre-planning meeting with students, and the students identified what they wanted to share with the adults that attended the forum ahead of time. And so what they picked was their concerns were around student mental health, and they wanted to talk about substance use, and then also about citizenship status. So we broke into small groups, and there was a set pattern where the adults are the listeners and the students shared. It was really impactful. The kids are so articulate and very heartfelt in their desires to succeed in changes they see that we need to make as a community. And we're still unpacking what we heard, and the collaborative puts together a great summary and debriefs, and really will share that out with us. But I kind of had 2 initial thoughts and takeaways after the experience. And one is the continuing request from our teens for a safe and sober place to gather. in the evenings and on the weekend. And I know that was their ask last year. And things have, improved, like there's been some new opportunities, but I just say that out to the public, hoping that they would love like a bowling alley and a food court. So some entrepreneur out there can make that happen. And the other one, in my group in particular, they really want their parents educated about mental health and substance use issues, and particularly with the mental health, more normalizing like that it's okay to struggle, that as a student in high school that you're going to have struggles and it's okay to ask for help. So in good news, thanks to Trustees Levack's attending a great seminar at our session at our California School Boards Association conference and connecting with the Anxious Nation producer, we are going to have screenings of this powerful documentary in our district. We're getting the time confirmed. I believe it's going to be 5:30, but April 8th for the Lakeside at North Tahoe High School, and April 10th for Truckee. And of course, the community and families are welcome to go to whichever date works best for them. We're suggesting middle school and high school families would want to attend. There will be kind of a preliminary discussion to frame the documentary and prepare everyone, then watching the screening, and then a panel afterwards and resources available. So we were really excited that the students were asking for more parent education on this issue, and thanks to Dr. Cohen and Kim Bradley and Trustee Levack, we already had this in the works. So I'm glad that we're going to be able to kind of meet this need right away.
Would this be appropriate for students to attend with their parents, or is this something that just parents perhaps should attend?
I think definitely both.
So students can certainly attend. My understanding is the documentary is interviewing parents and students about their own experiences with anxiety and other mental health issues and coping and how they overcame it. So we're excited to offer that. Yeah, you're welcome. And that concludes my update. So thank you.
I do have a quick question about your update. Thank you for those, the information on those 3 data points regarding the 3 days of what used to be Ski Skate Week. And did you also receive any emails from community members, parents, students, or anything regarding that? And
No, we did not. And I thought maybe on that February 19th board meeting, maybe we'd get some public comments emailed in, but we didn't hear anything.
Okay.
We know during that school calendar change time in the spring, 2 springs ago, there was a lot, but there was nothing. The only emails I got from students the week before was asking me please to have snow days.
yeah.
Which Mother Nature finally came through, but that was the only emails I got.
So kind of to piggyback, another question on your presentation, is the district going to be looking at the 2-hour delay start as a continued option based on that finding?
I think we'll use we'll see if we get to do another 2-hour delayed start. We can look at last year's. I believe we only used it once last year and just once so far this year. It is the snow call that I get the most feedback on from families currently. So it is something that we can ask and consider, is it too much of a negative impact on our families?
That's a lot, yeah.
Or is it still better to have school in a timely manner versus making up the day at the end of the year? But that is an excellent question.
Okay.
So we'll continue.
Keep us posted,
yeah.
and I just heard
Yeah,
President Driller.
Thank you, Chris. And that was my only other thought as well, Superintendent Kramer, that the delayed start just has a negative effect on trying to get childcare organized. And I know that when we do that with ski team, I get a frantic number of calls. Can you make the decision earlier so I can still get daycare? So I would be interested in hearing that as well in terms of if that's a viable, I mean, yes, to hear it. It's nice to have a day, but I'm thinking that seemed to be a big number, which thank you for that data.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I think that's a great question. I think we should look into it, especially if we feel like we want to do it often. The negative impact may just be too much, and we might want to remove that from our toolbox.
Okay, thank you. So moving right along to our consent agenda, does the cabinet, or do you have anything to remove from the consent agenda?
No items to remove from staff.
How about board members? Anything? Okay. So moving right along then. Yes, sorry. I see action and my brain says info. Yes, we need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, please.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect, thank you. And then we have no association reports tonight. There was nothing new to report, so we are going to move right on to business services.
Okay, and for this item, we'll ask Mr. Todd Rivera, our Assistant Superintendent, Chief Business Officer, to speak.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Droller, members of the board. So tonight, we're bringing, the first item is bringing a contract with AT&T to provide data transport services under the E-rate program. Data transport service is another way of just saying Ethernet services. So that is our internet. And this is under the E-rate program, which is a federally funded program that funds telecommunications for school districts and libraries throughout the nation. This is also a program that our funding amounts that we receive from E-rate is dependent upon the number of free and reduced students that we have in our district. So at this point of this contract that we're proposing tonight with AT&T, E-rate funds actually 60% of that. So the total annual amount for our Ethernet service would be approximately $67,654, of which E-rate would cover just under $41,000 of that, leaving the district to pay about $27,061. I should also note that E-rate, as a federally funded program, requires us to go through a bid process. So we do a formal bid process where we post notice of the bid and take in awards and evaluate it on criteria, different criteria, but the most heavily weighted criteria needs to be price. And we did go through that process. AT&T was the only bidder on this particular contract.
Okay, any questions? All right, then we will move to vote. Can we get an approval to award this bid?
I'll make a motion to award the bid and ratify the contract with AT&T.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye, and I like the 60-40 deal. That's good.
Okay, thank you. Next item?
Mr. Rivera.
Thank you. I should also note on that 60-40 deal, we've actually been reduced a little bit with our funding with E-rate. We used to be at a 70%, 30% split, but because our free and reduced counts have gone down as a result of universal meals, it was reduced slightly. So this next contract is approve the bid and a contract with CDW Government to provide UPS equipment under the E-rate program. Specifically, this is for UPS battery replacements. And this is under what E-rate calls our Category 2 services, which is funding that's provided on a 5-year basis to do infrastructure and equipment upgrades. So with this, the proposal that you're approving is for set pricing for these battery replacements. We do not have to purchase all of them, but if we purchased everything that was on the list for all of our battery replacements with UPS devices, it would be approximately $39,795. Of that, we have approximately $12,834.63 left in our Category 2 funding. So we're going to apply that towards whatever we purchase.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Rivera? All right, then let's get a motion to.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking.
That's okay.
So what's the total contribution from the E-rate program for both of these items?
30.
The one we just voted on and then now this one?
So On the AT&T services, which I should probably clarify, that's where we get the contribution, that's a specific percentage.
Right.
So
Or
E-rate's
60.
covering 60% of that. So the total cost of the service is going to be approximately $67,654 a year, of which E-rate is going to cover $40,592.74.
Okay, and then the second item, though,
Second item, Category 2 funding works a little bit different. It's basically like a bucket of money that we have a 5-year period to utilize. So we've used that on several projects for improving our network infrastructure over the last 5 years. We have a remaining balance in that bucket of $12,884. So it works a little differently. It's not necessarily the 60-40 split. That's what I need to clarify.
that bucket of funding was larger before this year?
Yes, it's basically a 5-year spend down. So I
How much
want to
did it
say the
start as?
original pot of money was about $500,000. So we've done some pretty significant equipment upgrades over the years.
And this is a federal program?
Yes.
So the possibility of losing this?
I have not heard if the E-rate program's at risk at this point. I guess anything's possible. I can look into that a little bit more and see if our consultant has heard anything about that.
Well, that won't change my vote on it, but that's okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Okay. Just writing a note based on your question. All right, so we need a motion to approve item 15.2, please. Is there a motion on the table?
I'll move to approve award bid and ratify contract with CDW Government LLC to provide UPS equipment under the E-rate program.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. So then we will move on to resolution item 16.1.
And for this item, we'll turn to Mr. Mike Shepard, our Executive Director of Human Resources.
Thank you, Superintendent Kramer, President Driller, members of the board. This resolution before you is to approve a layoff of 2 employees and 2 positions. It affects 2 employees. And what we're doing is the Kings Beach Family Center is, the funding from that center is being redistributed next year to the Sierra Community House. And so because the family room is currently staffed by our employees, they were given the option to work for Sierra Community House, and they chose to remain employees of the district. Because both employees currently have multiple positions, and the positions they're losing due to if you approve this layoff, they will still be employed because they're currently employed at the school in other positions. So what will happen if you approve this is the employees will be noticed, and a potential 3rd employee who's least senior will also be noticed. And once that happens, then we bargain the impacts and effects. Just to give you an idea, we currently have some vacant positions that we're very confident that both employees will find employment at Kings Beach and will remain there. Hence, the outcome will probably be that we're laying off positions that are becoming vacant. So very high degree of likelihood that our employees will not be affected too adversely because they'll have positions that they'll be able to be moved into. And that's what we will bargain with CSEA, the impacts and effects should you make this decision. And the positions we are laying off is .625 FTE of a community liaison, position 673, and .4375 FTE child instructional assistant child care development 1, position 1288, for a total layoff of 1.0625 FTE. And with that, any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Shepard? Go
The
ahead.
only I'm just going to quickly, sorry about that, I couldn't make it go quick. Thank you, Michael Shepherd, for clarifying sort of the verbiage, and I just wanted to make it sort of public that this is the wording that's been placed on this resolution at this point is code, and it's what needs to be stated, and the actual, the verbiage may sound harsh, but in reality, we are restructuring something that needed to be done prior to this anyway, in terms of the entity running this program actually wasn't TTUSD. But I really appreciate the fact that Michael Shepherd and his team has been able to navigate and negotiate, navigate the jobs available for these two employees that we've had with us in the district for a while, and being able to provide them an opportunity to continue to stay. And I really just wanted to shout out that they've chosen to stay with TTUSD, which is obviously kudos to all of us. But I just wanted to point that out, that the verbiage does seem harsh, but that's just the verbiage and it's not the actual action.
Thanks for pointing that out, President Driller. Okay, so if we could get a motion to approve resolution number 22-2024-2025.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-24-25.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. Glad we can make that work for our staff. And now personnel.
And we'll turn again to Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you. Before you is MOU number 7 with CSEA. This is a revised job description with a new title. The prior title is cook, and our cooks do far more than cook. They're actually chefs. They prepare food from scratch, wonderful food, and so this job description has been revised to reflect their duties, and we had negotiated prior with CSEA to raise the range of this position, and now they would like to call it chef because they are doing industry work on par with chefs. And so with that, any questions?
Okay, hearing no questions from the board, can we get a motion? Should we do these individually? Okay, could we get a motion to approve this MOU number 7, please?
I'll move to approve the memorandum to revise the job description to chef.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, 17.2.
Mr. Shepherd?
Thank you. Connected to MOU 7 is MOU 8, and this is the prior title of this position is food service worker. And as the chefs are cooking, the sous chefs are really sous chefs. They're helping prepare, they're chopping, they're helping, they're learning. And so this new revised job description reflects those duties as well as a more appropriate title. And so with that, any questions?
Okay, hearing no questions, could we get a motion to approve this memorandum number 8, please?
I'll make a motion to. Oh, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve MOU number 8.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Next item?
Mr. Shepherd?
Lastly, with food service, we have, this is actually, we had a position called floater chef, and with the change in law that started this year, there has been need and we've had a couple of chefs actually deliver food to various sites, like if they prepare food for Sierra High School at a larger kitchen. So with the law change, we have to specifically, if we're going to require driving in a job, it has to be one of the essential functions of the job, not just a related an occasional job, an occasional duty. So what we did with talking with Kat and her team and talking with CSEA, it seemed most appropriate to have this position actually revised to be called floater chef and food delivery driver, so that those two positions in the district, it's spelled out that the driving is an everyday and essential function. And so with that, any questions?
Okay, hearing none, can we get a motion to approve MOU number 9?
I'll move to approve MOU number 9.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect, thank you. And last personnel item?
Mr. Shepherd?
Thank you. This is a standard request that we bring occasionally to before you. It's called a variable term waiver, and it's to certify that a new a credentialed employee is qualified and competent to be in the position while they're finishing up internships or they're finishing some coursework. And we have been trying to recruit a part-time counselor for 3 different schools for all year. And so we finally identified someone interested in the job, and so we're ready to onboard them, and we need approval from you to process this variable term waiver. And this employee will be fully credentialed next year, but this is just bridging the gap for the rest of the school year. And with that, any questions?
Again, hearing none, can we get a motion to approve this request?
I'll move to approve the variable term waiver request.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. So one thing that stands out for me, I just want to make a comment on the first 3 items that we approved with the title changes. Maybe not so much the third one, but we never want to lose our amazing staff, but this is just also a way to bolster our staff for if they ever leave the district, to be able to say, I served as a sous chef for 4,000 children and staff, right? So I think that's great. Anyway, I just wanted to say that. Okay, next item.
So for our board policies tonight, all four of those are going to be addressed by Dr. Anna Marie Cohen, our Executive Director of Student Services.
Okay. Thank you, Superintendent Kramer. Clerk Hennessy, Board of Trustees and Community. Tonight I'm presenting first read of proposed revision to Board Policy 5141.5, Mental Health. The proposed board policy is updated to expand the U.S. Surgeon General's new guidance regarding the importance of social connection and the impact of social media, the requirement for CDE to recommend best practices and identifying training programs to address student behavioral and mental health, and the requirements for the districts to notify students and parents and guardians twice a year about how to access mental health services. This is a first read only and will be brought back for approval at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Are there any questions?
I have one. I was wondering if we could add a definition of digital resilience. So it's mentioned in the wording, but I think just for clarity, I would like to see a definition in there. And then this is more for the board to discuss, but when I read the staff report and it talks about reflecting the U.S. Surgeon General's guidance about the impact of social media, I didn't feel like we actually used the word social media at all in the policy. And I think if we even just said, there are impacts of social media or something, impacts on mental health, for me, it would make it a little bit more clear about sort of the why behind this policy and the importance of addressing that in particular with mental health. And maybe that's just because we've been talking about this quite a bit lately, and it's been on my mind, particularly with just national politics and everything else that's going on, that I know our students are so embedded in social media that if we are going to use this as a tool and a resource to help, I think just maybe making that a little more clear that there are impacts would be beneficial.
Okay, thank you. I have that noted, so we'll bring that back at the next board meeting. Okay, the next first read, 18.2. First read of Board Policy and Administrative Regulation 5141.6, School Health Services, requiring districts to increase health equity and utilization of telehealth as a method to deliver healthcare services in schools. Additionally, the policy is also updated to provide for preventative programming and intervention strategies as types of health services to be provided by districts. And the administrative regulation is updated to include behavioral health services in the list of school health services that districts may provide, and the districts may deliver healthcare services to students by way of telehealth technology. This regulation also requires districts to develop a plan to ensure that individuals with disabilities are able to effectively communicate and participate in Medi-Cal program, and that a district may seek reimbursement from a student's health care service plan when the district provides those services. This is a first read only and will be brought back at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. And are there any questions on this one?
I don't have any questions, but I have a comment. So when I first read that in the staff report, I was a little concerned about seeking reimbursement from a student's healthcare provider because I was wondering what that process would be, that could be a scary thing for someone who has like a high deductible or something else. But I think the way that the policy is worded, it works because the student and parents are involved, so there's, willingness and understanding of what services are being provided, and then if there are resources being utilized, it still requires board approval. So for me, I think the wording is good the way that it is. I think it just, at first when I read it, I was kind of worried about that aspect of it, but I don't have any changes to it.
Okay, and for clarification, we also are already participating in Medi-Cal reimbursement programs. And additionally, this expands with the CYBHI, the California Youth Behavioral Health Initiatives, which it allows for further billing for the services that the schools are actually providing. So this is policy language that ties to that as well.
Yeah, and I think that's helpful to have that background context too. And I know we've talked about sort of that aspect at other board meetings too, like we just approved that position for doing the billing part of it too. So I think it all ties together and is helpful to see how it's supportive in that sense.
Okay, and the next first read of board policy is 6159.2, non-public, non-secretarian schools and agency services for special education. This policy is updated to reflect a December 2022 Davis Joint Unified School District Resolution Agreement with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights regarding the use of seclusion and restraint as it relates to a free, appropriate public education for students with disabilities placed in non-public schools, and the requirement for them to adhere to district policies and procedures. This is a first read only and will be brought back for approval at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Are there any questions regarding this board policy? Nope. Okay. And the last first read is that of Board Policy 5116.2, involuntary student transfers. This policy clarifies that the policy only addresses involuntary transfers to other schools within the district. Additionally, the policy clarifies requirements for an involuntary transfer of a student who has been convicted of a violent felony or a misdemeanor associated with possession of a firearm, an involuntary transfer to a continuation education program or class within the district, or an involuntary transfer to a community day school within the district. This is also first read only, will be brought back for approval at the next regularly scheduled board meeting. Are there any questions on this one?
Okay, there does not appear to be any questions. So now, thank you very much for all of those. And now we move on to board business.
So for 19.1, our board, all of you have been invited to possibly co-sign an advocacy letter or a resolution. The Town of Truckee manager, Jen Calloway, reached out at last week's town council meeting. There was a discussion and a request to send an advocacy letter to Congressman Kevin Kiley, and the purpose of the letter would to be request to continue federal funding for the region. And what I'm asking you to discuss and give us advisement on is if you're comfortable co-signing the letter. Some things that the councilperson addressed last week, there are negative impacts for our region on the current funding, federal funding freezes. There's job loss, increased wildfire risk, and then potential impacts to our regional recreational economy. So the draft will be ready for you to review next week after the next council meeting. And so just for context, for us as a school district, at this time, we are not experiencing any funding freezes. We are going to look into the Forest Reserve Fund, which is a federal funding, and there may be a freeze, and that's $185,000, but we're going to look into that. We haven't been notified of that, but we did hear through the kind of the grapevine that another district is experiencing that impact, so that may apply to us. And just for context, for our overall budget as a school district, our federal funds amount to about 2% of that total budget, so about $1.8 million. So that is a significant amount, but overall, that is a small portion of our budget. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. Otherwise, I will let you discuss.
So anybody have questions for Superintendent Kramer, or are you ready to discuss? Do you need more information from her before we do that?
I don't have questions, but maybe a comment. And I think, although we're not seeing any freezes at this time, and I think it may be something to think about, to be proactive in informing Congressman Kiley of our desire to keep our $1.8 million in federal funding. I don't know that signing on with an advocacy letter, or I wonder if signing on with an advocacy letter with many other agencies waters down that message, and if we shouldn't perhaps draft a letter ourselves for Congressman Kiley.
Pat, I'm going to step in just with that as well. Thank you for starting us off. I guess my biggest concern at this point would be I would like to hold off until we see what their actual, from Town of Truckee, what their letter looks like. I do want to see Representative Bullock's letter that he had sent out to Kiley as well before we actually move forward with any of this. I guess my first big thing is how is this relating to, and again, Pat, I want to say that I definitely agree that we should not be inactive, and we should actually make sure that we do speak out when things are affecting us. This letter, and after listening to the meeting from the Town of Truckee Council, the request from them seemed to be nothing to do with student achievement. So as a Tahoe Truckee Unified School District Board member, and I just don't know if this is the right place for us to sign on. And I do support the advocacy potential of what we need to do, and I do want to make it known that we do not want to lose our funding. But as Pat indicated, maybe a different letter. But I'm not comfortable signing on with the Town of Truckee's points of what they're asking, because it seems to be forest land and jobs and recreation, which I totally support, but it's not me as a board member from Tahoe Truckee Unified School District.
Anyone else? No? How about you?
I agree with what I've heard. I do have some concern about sort of our firepower when we need it, that if we're joining in on issues that aren't specific to students and we get to the point where we really have to be our own advocate on behalf of students, I want to make sure that that's a very powerful time that we're using. And this feels like this could actually dilute our ability to have that powerful voice. So I think we're all, what I've heard so far is we want to be proponents for advocacy and making sure that we're represented. But I think because it's not so specific to our mission for our students, that I would feel comfortable kind of using our voice for a time when we really need it.
So my thought was, our schools are surrounded by forests, so my initial response was yes, of course, and also wanting to support the town of Truckee, because I know that there will be times, and there have been times, where we need their support, right? And this is a community of collaboration, always, and it was so obvious during COVID. So I'm wondering, could both be true? Could we sign on as supporters of the letter and then also hold back for our own? Does that hold merit to ponder that? I see you shaking your head no. No, it's totally fine. That's why we're discussing.
I apologize. I forget you guys can all see me when I'm not looking at anybody else. I do appreciate that, and I do know we are a total collaborative community. I do think that Danielle's point is valid in the sense that, we are needing to be able to say we're working for the betterment of our student achievement, and could we use this at a different time? I don't want to say that we're not going to support Truckee's desire to move this forward. And yes, we are in a forest, but if you look at what we are as a Tahoe Truckee Unified School District, we have to look at student achievement and students' achievement, and safety is one of them, and I'm not belittling that at all. And could we go partners? Yes. I'm very cautious on the fact that we haven't seen what they're writing. And I don't want to say, yes, we're going to agree to any of this. And I don't necessarily think that just two people of our board need to be the representatives of this. I think that I do appreciate this 5-person discussion. And I think that for me, I support, Chris, what you're saying as well, but I would love to see us revisit this. Either we can do a special or we can wait until again, the sense of urgency is there. Happy to do a Zoom conference call with all of us or whatever, but I don't think that I'm feeling comfortable signing or agreeing to sign on anything until I see it.
Of course, yeah, I would assume that was always the plan, that we could see the letter before, right? We support it.
Right, so different options would be, depending on the town's desired timeline for submitting the letter to Congressman Kiley, it could be that we could hold a special board meeting if they had a deadline, so everyone could review the draft, discuss further, and decide whether to sign or not. Another option would be to authorize up to 2 board members to review the draft when it's ready and sign on the board's behalf if it aligns with our mission. But I'm hearing already that there's a question of whether this really aligns with the mission because it doesn't have the student focus.
But before deciding, as many of you already said, I'd like to see the letter. Next week is bad for me.
Yeah, Chris's point is valid. Safety is one of our topics. I mean, that's a student, we want to protect our students through and throughout. So that is an element. And I think that there may be, and Chris, I don't mean to shake my head in the beginning, there may be a way to move it so that, yes, we do satisfy our mission and our goals and our Tahoe Truckee Unified School District along with town of Truckee. My other comment was, what about the other districts, Placer and El Dorado? Superintendent Kramer did reference the overarching responsibility of Congressman Kiley is all 3 of our districts collectively. To me, I would like to hear from Placer and El Dorado as well, because we are part of that district, not just town of Truckee. And I don't know if that's something that as a entity that we represent those 2 other counties that we should invite them to part of the discussion. Or is it just going to start with town of Truckee and then the other ones will follow through?
My understanding is at this time, the town has invited multiple local agencies, including our airport district, sanitation district, and other entities that are impacted by the federal funding freeze. I'm not sure that the counties, I don't know if Nevada County, Hardy Bullock, Supervisor Bullock already wrote a letter, so I haven't heard if Placer County or El Dorado are, but I know the town. So what I can do is I can respond to Manager Callaway and let her know about our hesitation about it not being a specific student focus, but that we certainly recognize the impact on our region and the concerns about safety with wildfire, and that the board feels the board will need to see the letter as a whole group. And our next regular scheduled meeting is March 19th. So I can check to see if that timeline will work with their plans. I believe their next meeting is next Tuesday. If not, are you interested in scheduling a special board meeting if they have a deadline that sooner? Or if there's urgency, should I just say, we'll pass on this cosign opportunity?
I mean, for me, I would say no, but I'm also okay with having 2 board members take the lead.
Anyone else have a comment on that? A thought on that?
I really feel it's important that we all chime in at some point. So I guess if there's a way to get the rest of the board's input before those two, like I have no problem being part of that too. But I definitely want to make sure that the input that I'm providing is from all of the board members collectively. And so I guess I need to learn the process and how to get that information if I were to be part of that twosome.
So do we have to review the letter, do we have to hold a special board meeting, or could we be forwarded the letter and provide comments back to you and President Driller?
If you authorize President Driller to sign on behalf of the board, if it meets the criteria that you're looking for, then she can, right? But any discussion of all 5 of us would need to be in an open public meeting, but it can be less than a quorum. So if it's President Driller and another individual, the 2 of you could review the letter and discuss and make the decision on behalf of the board. Trustee Nishimori, were you?
Yeah, I was just thinking that I mean, I'm okay with whatever decision 2 board members make. I feel like I've expressed sort of my interest, but I trust the board to make the right choice, whether that's signing or not signing. So I just feel like special board meetings are a lot of work and not necessarily fair to cabinet to hold for something that's not really our specific driven issue. I mean, if we're gonna have a special board meeting, it's better be something that we really need to have one for.
Well said. I guess, and I think though, just for us as a board collectively, I do believe that we're all kind of on the same page, and I think everyone's had a chance. The only thing, Kirsten Levac, is there a way that you could publicly announce how you feel so that there's sort of input on all of our parts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of just listening to the dialogue and taking it in. It's obviously very complicated because it sort of sets a precedent. And I think that that's the most important thing. It's going to be a long 4 years, and this won't be the first conversation that we have on this subject. So I'm really just sort of collecting data through a process standpoint of how we need to be very delicate about moving forward. But I'm pretty comfortable with, the various different comments that have been made and, moving forward. I kind of agree with Danielle. I mean, no, I totally agree with Danielle. I don't think we should set up a special board meeting for this. But I am concerned. I am very concerned.
So is the only reason we would, thank you for your feedback, is the only reason we would need a board meeting is because I'm the outlier here? I'm a little lost in the process.
I honestly feel like if President Driller and Clerk Hennessy want to be the 2, that would be great because I think you have both perspectives that have been discussed in kind of the full spectrum. So for me, that addresses everything.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only reason I'm being kind of a stickler is, again, it's just what if they lose funding for fire, right? So why would we not want to support that, even though it's not our mission, right? It's not education, but these bodies are under our, we're stewarding them for 7 to plus hours a day. And if if Nevada County or Truckee loses federal funding for their fire mitigation, then something happens, and I don't know. I just
Yeah,
feel that
well,
responsibility
it
to
is one-
keeping them safe.
Yep. There's going to be in this, I think both Kirsten said this just now, that there's going to be many more of these things. So how do
Yeah.
we continually refocus on what is our goal and what is our purpose as a unified school district? Truckee, town of Truckee has a different mission and a district. They have forests that they maintain and they have buildings and so they're a little different. So how do we merge those? The fact that we need to be safe in where we are for schools. But that's not within our, and again, maybe we can look at policies and things that we have within our bylaws or even any policies that we have that may indicate that. But if we go back to what is our board's mission, there are going to be things outside our board's ability because it's not our mission and our goals and our students. So there are going to be things and the buildings themselves may have issues, but that's not our board decision. That's sort of the facilities department, so I mean, it's not us as a board. So as long as we can continue to keep our missions in place, are we comfortable? So Chris, in the conversation, we all want to make sure that our forests are safe. And that's something that we should never not do. And should we support Town of Truckee's mission to put this forward? Yes. And as Danielle said, is it our place to sign a letter for that? We don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's the right answer. I definitely want to say that Town of Truckee, I'm so strongly support you going out and doing this and saying, don't lose our funding. But is it necessarily a resolution that we need to sign, or do we just sign saying we support you? We support your endeavors, and it's not necessarily our board decision, but we as a team support your endeavor. So this will take some more discussion for sure. But I'm glad that Danielle's already self-appointed you. I think it's great that we are both on sort of different sides, which I wouldn't say sides, but different views, and we can both, I think, come to a mutually agreeable solution for this next process.
So I have a suggestion, since I stuck myself in the middle of this, that maybe there's an opportunity that if the town is doing this in partnership as, kind of collective advocacy, that we could add a bullet point, that isn't just wildfire and the other items that were listed, but is specific to, school district funding, and that maybe there's an opportunity for all the districts to be able to add sort of their, quick bullet list. I mean, I know that we don't want to make this like overly burdensome, but if our feedback can be, we would be much more able to sign this and support this as a board if it also included what's important to us as a board. Then there's sort of power in numbers for me.
So I have a suggestion for the sake of this evening then. Because even though I like your idea, I think it goes back to Trustee Mooney's point of it kind of just waters it down, right? So for the sake of tonight, since what I'm hearing is we all anyway want to see what the town puts together, right? Before we decide whether we sign it or not. Well, you said you were okay with not, yeah. How about we table this until we see, does that miss a bullet in the process? We see what the letter says.
We can bring it back to the March 19th meeting, but I just don't know if that's in the timeline of the town.
I guess that's the question is, the rest of the board okay with having 2 of the board members take the lead if the timing is an issue?
Yes, I am.
Right, so does that, that sounds right.
You look like you're just giving in, so you can either be one of the two or say no.
The decision that you and Dee Dee might make, or whoever these 2 people are, I don't have a problem with that. as I sit here and listen to the different positions, the different arguments, the different comments regarding this, you know, my mind spins around it, and I change my mind, and I think I still believe that over these next 4 years, we need to be proactive, and we need to be thoughtful about what's coming, and we need to, for lack of a better word, perhaps fight for what we know is best for our kids. And at the same time, I hear Danielle saying about saving our firepower. And I agree with that 100% as well, because there may be fights down the road where we really need to not have watered down our message prior to that. And whether we sign this letter or our own letter, whether we decide to do something else or send a message to Representative Kiley, I do not see him standing in the halls of Congress arguing against federal policy.
And this is just the very beginning.
And so, do we save our message for later? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe getting that message out early now, along with our agency partners here in town, is the best thing I don't know. But now I have all these things because of you people that I worry about.
You people.
Yeah.
And you know what's going through my head, because I'm not really confident in process? I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I am wondering if it's ethical and okay to ask for you, and what I want to know is what does Mr. Rivera think, but what I want to say is it okay to get feedback from you after, I don't know, this is not a big deal, and it is.
Yeah.
Only because of the process, right? It's a no-brainer to me to support the town of Truckee on something that, in a wider scope, affects the safety of the kids that I'm sitting here representing. That's a no-brainer for any of us, I'm guessing, right?
I think we're saying we support. I think it's a matter of what goes into something that's in writing
Yes.
that is a process.
Exactly, and so I don't know.
Well, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like there's still a lot of thinking that needs to happen, because as you listen to each other, it
seeing
opens our
different
mind,
ways,
and
yeah.
you're really great about listening carefully to one another and respecting different viewpoints. So how about this? I'll get back to Manager Callaway and just explain that if we were going to participate, that we would need to have the letter come to our board meeting on March 19th so everyone could see it. Or no, are we leaning away from?
I was just wondering so I think we had 2 so far that were okay with 2 board members. So is there a third or not? I just wasn't sure what President Driller's thoughts were. Because in my mind, we could pick 3. If 3 of us say yes, we could go with that.
Yeah, good point. Trustee Mooney, are you okay with just 2 members, or would you? Okay. And then the one suggestion was Clerk Hennessy and Board President Driller being those 2 members. Does that seem like the right representation? I'm seeing 2 nods.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. Okay, so then what we'll do is I'll ask for that copy, and then we'll schedule a time for the 3 of us to review it, and they'll
Okay.
take into account all that you shared about whether will co-sign or not.
Yeah, perfect.
And then
Okay.
can I ask, just for process, and thank you for that, Chris, for asking for process, and Danielle as well, that is, if there are things that are pointed that are extreme, for those that are not talking, so Kirsten, Danielle, and Pat, that they feel totally comfortable emailing Kirsten Kramer, Superintendent Kramer, anything that they feel that has not been discussed this evening, that all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, this is what I really believe. Just so that when we discuss it with Superintendent Kramer, Chris and I have, or, Clerk Hennessy and I, have that input as well. Because to me, this is something that, as we've all mentioned, it's brand new, but there will be many more of them. So that to get this process out, I just want to make sure that we all feel that we are equally saying stuff and that we all have an opportunity to speak out so that it is weighed, and then as a team we decide, and then we represent out with 2 or whatever. But I'm really adamantly, I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to think about this as well. And once we see the letter, you may find that there's just no way, or this, we never thought of this. So if that's okay with you, Superintendent Kramer, that they write to you, correct? And then we have that information when we meet, so that you don't interact with the Brown Act.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you for the extended conversation. Who would have thought that was going to be the item on the agenda? Okay, so now we can move on to our closing item, which is board comments. So who would like to start? President Driller, why don't you start so I don't forget you?
Perfect. I've done not a whole lot. I am actually, thank you for letting me be in Vermont. It is pouring rain and 45 degrees, so it is definitely not winter weather here. I don't think I did anything that was school related this last week. So I'm just going to say that's it until I think about it, and then I'm good. But no, I think that's it. I did do my comm meeting with Kirsten Kramer and the rest of our comm team last Thursday, and then I'm just happy to say that I think it's awesome that we are continuing forward with staff and staff morale and staff improvement. And I'm just happy that we are all happily talking. That's it for me from Vermont. It's 10:30.
And you also attended North Tahoe High School, so I'll just go next because I was with you on that. So had a great visit at North Tahoe High School, and also stayed after the 3 different classes we visited. We stayed for lunch and got to see how the district is mitigating food waste, which we have a lot of work to do, but we also have a lot of guidelines to obey. I mean, we just can't, we have a lot of things that are out of our control, but it was great to see how they do that, and super impressed with everything I saw there. And I just wanted to say the March 14th is the 40s night jazz night event for North Tahoe High School, so you can go onto their website and get information and tickets there. And then this weekend, Kings Beach Saturday is a Snowfest parade, and like you heard earlier, 6 of the 8 contenders for King and Queen are from North Tahoe High School, so support North Tahoe High School. But anyway, so I just, great student updates today from all the schools, and that is all I have. Thank you. Do you have anything? Nope. Okay.
I also went to the Truckee High School Back to School night and sat in on 4 different presentations, and I was very impressed by the level of rigor that the teachers are upholding in the schools, at least at Truckee High School. So I congratulate those teachers on that. It was some interesting curriculum that they're teaching, and friendly, nice teachers. It was a nice visit all around. And also next week, a number of our high school, North Tahoe and Truckee High School alpine ski athletes, boys and girls, are heading to Grand Targhee in Wyoming for the, and I'm going to try and get this right, the Western U.S. Regional High School Championships. And the teams are invited by state leagues, so the NI2A League athletes, most of whom are coming from North Tahoe and Truckee High School, but there are some other schools being represented as well, are heading out for 4 days of competition to see who in the Western United States is the top team. So wish them luck, and I'll be coaching. I'll be going out with them.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. I'm really looking forward to it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
I also went to the Truckee High Back to School night, and that's the second one I've done, and I'm always impressed. I really appreciated that the student body also created the maps and helped parents, because there were a lot of lost parents. So I feel like they were so kind about it. And selling, the logo gear in the hallways was another nice touch too, where you just had better integration of kind of students while the parents were trying to figure out their kids' schedules. So it was really well done.
Okay, I think that brings us to a close. It is 7:40 PM. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to Cabinet for staying late.